everybody, and welcome to another episode of the She Compass Show, the show that helps you navigate your life. Today we have with us a remarkable young lady. We have Mayor Breed, Madam Mayor of San Francisco.
Hi, Madam Mayor. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being here with us. We have some very poignant questions for you today because this show is all about woman empowerment, and it's actually about helping everybody, but especially the woman empowerment aspect of it. So I have some questions for you, Mayor Breed. I'd like to know, as a San Francisco native, coming from humble beginnings, we can both talk about that because we both came from pretty humble beginnings. So can you enlighten us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I grew up in public housing. I've lived there for over 20 years of my life. My grandmother raised me. I went to public schools. And back then, the community, they looked out for me. There was Mama Faye, who took us to preschool.
Oh, you had that too?
Yes, Mary Lee, who basically took care of us when my grandmother had to work.
Yes.
And she worked cleaning houses and hotel rooms in the city. And the thing is, like, you don't realize as a kid, you know, how valuable what you learn is and how valuable your community is, even with the challenges. I mean, there was violence, there was shootings, there was drugs, there was frustration because I felt like, why me? But at the same time, there were amazing people who really looked out for one another.
And protected us. And we all had these big mamas, right?
Yes.
I had my big mama too.
Yeah.
And we always had the woman that looked out the window and told on everybody.
That was my grandmother. My grandmother's like, hey, pick that up. Hey, you better move. Hey, you better not do that.
That's right. And they could actually discipline us back then.
Yes.
I remember sometime doing bad things when I was younger, and people would take me home to my mom.
Yes.
And I get in trouble twice.
Yeah.
But we're not in that era anymore.
No, because we're not looking out for one another. And I think that's part of what's missing with today's young people. It's like, oh, I'm going to take care of my kid, and you're not worried about everyone else's kid. But the fact is, we need to be worried about everybody. That's what being a part of a community is. That's what being a part of this society should always be about.
Yes, isn't that wonderful? Even though I grew up in Hunters Point, and that was a pretty rough neighborhood too, and I just think it's so ironic that we're both here and we both grew up in these places, but look at what we've done with our lives and it's not always where you come from, it's where you're going, and it's what it's what you take from it.
Yeah.
I took so much from the way I grew up, the best parts of it and the worst parts of it. But as I said, it was nothing like it is now.
Yeah, and I always tell young people especially because I used to run a nonprofit in the neighborhood. A lot of my work, even before I was elected, was about giving back, supporting young people, and being what so many adults were to me, and that is inspiration and support so that I can succeed. And I would tell them, like, never let your circumstances determine your outcome in life, because you can be whatever you want to be.
That's right.
And at the time, I'm running a nonprofit in the neighborhood, and I'm saying, look, I'm running a nonprofit in the neighborhood. That was a big deal for me.
Exactly.
I feel like I went to college, I graduated, and here I am supporting the community. You guys can do this too. You can do whatever you want to do.
That's right. And running and doing wonderful things. Look at you. I mean, you're such a great inspiration for the younger people. I was actually telling Madam Mayor that she's basically young enough to be my daughter.
And I still don't believe that.
So I have a child your age, but I am so very proud of the wonderful things you've done. And let me tell you, this is we're in this time here. This is an historic event because 30 years ago, Mayor Dianne Feinstein in 1988, I remember that like it was yesterday, was the mayor. And now we have Madam Mayor and the first African-American woman. How do you feel about that?
It feels amazing, and sometimes it doesn't even feel real, but I just remember when Feinstein was mayor, and our band, when I was in middle school, we were the mayor's band, and so we played at City Hall. We played at events. We were always excited because that meant we got to go to places in the city we have never been to before. Because of her opening the doors for us.
That's right.
And it never occurred to me that being mayor was even possible for me, even being exposed to a woman mayor at the time. I never thought it was possible.
Wow, can you tell me the things that might have made you feel like it wasn't possible?
Well, just my circumstances, being raised by my grandmother and having like a challenging kind of family environment.
Yes.
And I just didn't think that it was in the cards for me because I didn't know that I was going to even be able to go to college and get a degree and those sort of things. And when that happened, I thought, wow, let me try something else. But it wasn't as if I was thinking, oh, politics.
Yes.
I was just thinking, I shouldn't be the only one who can grow up in this challenging environment and succeed. Wow. And I was lonely, and I missed my friends, and I was tired of going to funerals on a regular basis, losing my friends and then my friends' kids. So it was very emotional for me and frustrating because part of it is I thought, well, what can we do to stop it? Everything in my mind was prevention.
Yes.
How can we make sure that this does not happen?
That's right.
And that's been my life's work is really prevention, stopping something from occurring, trying to work with kids. Like I paid our kids who came to the, I paid our kids who came to the African American Art and Culture Complex because I didn't want them doing things that would land them in juvenile hall at an early age without giving them a real opportunity to learn who they are as young people. And also I made them go to school. It's like I want to see your grades. I mean, I was really
education.
Yeah, I was like,
so
no.
Important, yes.
And they knew my family, they knew the stories, they knew everything about me. And they had very similar stories. And I'm like, look, if I can do it, you can do it, but you have to do the work. Yes. You have to believe in yourself. I believe in you. I think you're one of the, most of these kids are like
the smartest kids you've ever
seen.
One,
this incredible artist, another just the mathematician, like all the things that they were doing at the cultural center.
Yes.
I just couldn't believe it.
Yes, and just taking that energy, right?
Yeah.
And just kind of turning it around and saying, take this and put this into positive things.
Yes.
And that's so wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, you're so young to be doing things like that, I think you're just like an old soul,
Well, I was raised by a grandmother.
That's right.
So you usually, like I push back a lot, but then I find myself acting like she used to.
But isn't that beautiful? It's beautiful. I think that is wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mayor, for answering that question, Madam Mayor. I have another question. I'm trying to try to get through these. What do you think that you can say to encourage women at this point in time to be better to one another?
I think part of it is, I think it's important that, you support and encourage, especially young women.
Yes.
And spend some more time nurturing and mentoring young women.
Yes.
Because I did that even as a high school student. I did that most of my life, where it also felt good when people would come back and tell you stories about what you did to support them or touch their lives. Because I also had women like that in my life.
Yes.
That are still a part of my life who support me. So we all need encouragement, we all need support. And just think about it this way. Think about that time when someone said something really horrible to you and how it felt. Horrible. And why would you want to make somebody else feel like that?
And it can ruin your whole life.
It can ruin everything.
Yeah.
And just, and then I think sometimes, we have to also do a better job, like I said, of supporting one another.
Yes, most definitely.
Because words have a lot of power. And just think, we all want to get to a better place in life. We all want to be successful. We want to be able to pay our rent or our mortgage and take care of our families. Everybody wants that, but we don't have to tear other people down to achieve that goal. If we have a personal issue with someone, we're not going to love and like everybody. That's just the nature of the world, but we don't have to be vindictive and horrible to people.
And say horrible things.
Yeah.
We have to show them that there's a better way, right? There's a better way to do things.
Yeah.
And I think that you're the perfect example of that. And I love seeing you sitting in this big seat because you can change so many lives. 2 weeks ago, I did an interview with Supervisor Cohen, and we had some great words of, she had some great words of wisdom for you and her as sisters. And just the whole thing, just the whole vibe of this whole thing, it just feels wonderful. Yeah. And it feels great. And I can see you guys have a wonderful relationship.
And we do. And we have challenges, of course.
Yeah,
any relationship.
Of course.
But, we don't walk around with a chip on our shoulder, because at the end of the day, as elected women of color, we know the challenges that we both face. And so we have to be there to lift one another up, whether we agree or disagree, whether we're mad or not.
Definitely.
It's a challenging position to be in, because in many cases, most people don't expect us to be here.
Yeah, and I would say the world is watching you too.
Yeah.
I know I most definitely was, during the whole election, and just watching the whole thing was so exciting for me and so exciting for so many women that are talking about this wonderful relationship and this wonderful thing going on here. And we are just so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'd like to know, I have a couple of questions, and all right, so the African American woman, as an African American woman, do you feel like your challenges are harder, or do you feel like you're...
Well, I feel like definitely as a woman that my challenges are harder. The amount of work you have to put into maybe hair or makeup if you're doing
that's my thing.
Some sort of thing like this, and the what you wear. People judge you for what you wear, and if you wear something too much, there's a challenge with that. And I'm like, look, these are my clothes, this is what I have to wear, and I'm gonna wear what I need to wear. But there are comments, that people make about your appearance, your attire, how you looked, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not good. And so that, I think, is a challenge for women in general in the world of politics.
Well, that's that bullying, right?
Yeah, and you have to have thick skin, and just, it's that doesn't define you. Again,
No.
you for me, it's like, I am who I am, and so I don't allow myself to get, caught up in that drama, because I'm here to get people off the streets. I'm here to make sure people I grew up with can afford to continue to stay here if they're still here. I'm here to make sure that, the next generation of young people growing up in San Francisco don't end up behind bars or dead. I'm here to do a job that's bigger than worrying about
what you look like.
Yes. And I just keep moving forward and doing it. I do think it's a challenge, because part of it is, again, the photos you take, the interviews you do, the things, that's just a part of it. And people do judge you on your appearance.
And I think you always look amazing.
Thank
personally.
you.
I think you are a snazzy, jazzy, beautiful mayor. And I think you always look great.
Thank you.
And so, yes, but that's sad, because I've been judged on my appearance so many times. But I say this, we are who we are. And so being real, right? Keeping it real with who you are is important. And running the city, the way you're running the city, do you feel like you are having these challenges to work from the bottom up or from the top down?
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
Well, you're getting the people off the streets.
Yeah.
You're helping people who are suffering a little bit more.
Yeah.
Is that a harder challenge for you?
Oh, it's definitely a hard challenge, because there's not a one size fits all for people who are struggling. Of course, I'm not afraid to have the conversations with the people who are out there to ask, what are their challenges and what can we do? I have people that, before I was even mayor, I was working with to try and get help, but sadly, many of them suffer from mental illness and drug addiction, and that's been the biggest problem, because this guy who I absolutely love was like, I'm ready to get clean and sober, I've been out in the streets, and I'm tired of it. And I'm like, okay, and I'm like, do not walk away from me. And I'm on the phone calling a bunch of people, and got him a bed at Health Right 360. And then, of course, he's like, okay, I'm gonna go grab some food, and then we can go. And then he disappeared. And so it's like, I haven't seen him in a while, and usually when I see him now, he goes running the other way now. But when he's ready, he knows that he can get help. And I think, that's part of what we have to always keep in mind is, we're all human. It could be us at any given day.
Yes.
And part of what we have to do is make sure that when that person is ready, we have an opportunity for them.
Yes, and that's why I look at my life as a God's gift for the way I grew up, because in that way, my compassion for people is always there, and I'm always helping others. And so I think that it is a blessing for where we came from, don't you?
Yeah, but also we don't tolerate any mess.
No.
Because it's like, look, when you're ready, I'm down, but don't give me the runaround here.
Right.
Don't play.
We have that big mama thing because we know it's like, don't play us though.
We'll feed you, but part of it is you have to be willing to do your part.
Yeah, that's tough love.
Yeah.
And if we're trying to teach other people how to love themselves, and when I'm talking from a women aspect, everybody, men, women, children, older people, we're trying to teach people how to survive.
Yeah.
It's not always easy.
Yeah.
So to make those decisions. I want to ask you, Mary, if you could rewrite your childhood, what would you change?
All the food my grandmother ate, I wouldn't take as much as I
All the fried food, did you get
gumbo. I was just talking about this
gumbo?
earlier today, like how, because we got a lot of the free food.
Yes.
So she would make tamales, for example. Oh my goodness, they were so good. She would take the beef, the can, it said beef, and then pork and everything. So she'd make beef and pork tamales from the free food we got. She'd make macaroni and cheese. From the mac and cheese we got butter, and then every now and then.
Big block
the
butter?
Big block of,
yes.
The blocks of butter were like this, but the cheese was this in the little brown cardboard, and everything. Like she made magic happen with free food, and so we ate good. We ate good. Yep. She made that stuff work.
Okay.
And every now and then, you get the orange juice, you get the pineapple juice, you get grape juice was a luxury, right? And the peanut butter, man, that was hard to eat because that would choke you to death.
But we survived it, right?
Yeah, and again, it's like because, she really taught me how to be resilient. Let's not complain about our circumstances. We got a roof over our head. There may be challenges. We may not have a lot of money, but she's here, doing the best she can with what she has for us and supporting and helping people in the community.
That's right. So it doesn't sound like you would change a thing.
Yeah, probably just like I said, not eating as much as I did.
Yes, yeah. Well, hey, I'm still guilty of that. But don't you think it made you the woman you are today?
I do feel it had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
It's like some of the sad times, I would love to see us go back and, just some of the challenges with my siblings. And I'd love for them to be here with me in some capacity. And I just would change. I would want to see changes to my family. Like I'd want them to get like support or help or things that I was so fortunate enough to take advantage of. I'd want them, right here with me. So that's really.
And those are the things that you're changing right now.
I am trying to change what is normal in people's lives who especially grow up in poverty.
Yes.
I don't want it to be normal to have to go out there and sell drugs and in order to survive. I don't want it to be normal to think that you have to go and kill someone because you think they're going to kill you for different reasons that involve family history years ago.
And God knows this is such a big difference now than when we grew up. Because when I grew up in Herners Point, we left our back door unlocked.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't the same Herners Point that it is now.
Yeah.
It's so different now. And you're right. We have to do more and more to try to get to these young people. If the opportunities are there for young women, then we have to really embrace and try to catch those women now because it's harder. Don't you think it's a lot harder?
It's a lot harder, and that's why I am adamant about proposing free internships for high school students because I think it's important that kids get paid, especially kids that come from low-income communities. I mean, my grandmother couldn't give me lunch money every day, and you know how it was. If you had to eat in a cafeteria, you were kind of embarrassed a little bit and didn't want people to look at you a certain way. And
maybe I used to have little holes in the shoes.
Or say if you didn't have money to get school clothes and how you would feel going, you wouldn't even want to go back to school, because it was embarrassing. And when you've had to suffer like that, where
humiliation,
it is, and how people treat you too, again.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, for me, I don't want kids to have to feel like I've had to feel growing up. I want them to have opportunities, and I believe in paid internships as a way to make sure that kids have money in their pockets, to buy lunch, to buy their own clothes, or to do things. And then also, more importantly, so that they can learn about the industries that exist in San Francisco at an early age, so they can be exposed to all these incredible opportunities, so that their normal is not the drug dealing and all the other stuff, the car break-in and the stuff that, you know, we've grown up with and we saw was just what you did. Their normal has to be opportunity. Has to be, well, I don't know if I want to be a CEO of this company, or I don't know if I want to go into tech or do research. I want their normal to be choices of incredible opportunities so that they can have a better future.
Yes, because we both know, like they say, a mind is a terrible thing to raise. And there are so many brilliant people that come out of our circumstance that can do so many brilliant things that feel as though they're being or looked passed over. So you're doing wonderful things here in San Francisco. And I thank you so much for that. I have a gift for you.
Oh.
And this is my book. This show came out of Women Empowerment, and it's 15 lessons that I feel like, out of the hundreds and hundreds of lessons that I've had with women in my chair, that it helps us to learn how to empower one another as not only as women, but as people, how to care, how to give back. I started this business when I was much like I think it was your grandmother that cleaned houses. Who cleaned houses? I cleaned houses to put myself through school here in San Francisco on Powell Street. And I had 2 children very young in life, but I survived.
Yes.
And my story is a lot of people's story, and it is a story of survival. And was still able to start a multi-million-dollar business.
Nice.
Just by feeling in my heart that I knew I could do that.
Nice.
And looking back at the old neighborhood, I started a business back then too. I was braiding hair. I knew that right away that's what I wanted to do. And I said, you know what? I have alopecia and I'm losing my hair, but guess what? I felt as though I was going to give back hair to every woman that lost their hair. And I had a lady in the neighborhood, her name was Granny, and she taught me her craft, and this is what that grew out of. Isn't that amazing?
And your hair looks beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are so happy that we had the opportunity today here at the She Campus Show to have Madam Mayor Breed on our show. This is an accomplishment for me beyond my wildest dreams, and I want to thank everybody for being here with us today, and thank you so much from the She Campus Show. Thank you.